Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to Friday's edition of the dceu Daily. If you're feeling charitable, and I know you're really, really lovely, beautiful, compassionate, charitable people, smash the subscribe button, smash the like button, and follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. On today's dceu Daily, we've got Matt Reeves, we've got David F. Sandberg, we've got Donald Trump in Wonder Woman 1984. But first, well. You know that 7-second video, the fandom menace, that Star Wars girl Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers tried to use to destroy Ezra Miller with? It was an April Fool's joke. Looks like the fandom menace have been April Fooled really, really well. And I tell you what, I love it when these people get exposed. Imagine trying to cancel someone after 7 seconds of footage, which was quite clearly a bloody joke. It was an April Fool's, but someone on Twitter said, when will Ezra make an announcement, make a comment about this? Never. He doesn't have to. He ain't done nothing wrong. But I tell you what, that Star Wars girl who is Anna, you should refund everyone's super chat that you received while you did that video, if you did that video live. You are an absolute disgrace. And it's so funny. It's so funny that you were all doing videos, not just the fandom menace to be fair, right? All of you, about this guy being fired as the Flash, them either cancelling the movie or recasting. Never going to happen. April Fool's joke. You have been done right up the Khyber, and I love it. Right. Now, yesterday I did an edition of the dceu Extra, reading this Nerdist interview with Matt Reeves. But there's a lot more to this interview, and I want to unpack it. So I'm going to read this interview out again, but it's going to have excerpts you've heard already and excerpts you haven't heard already. And we're just going to read it out. We're going to unpack it, and I'm going to tell you my thoughts on it, because this has garnered a lot of hatred towards Matt from these kind of aggressive elements of our Release the Snyder Cut community. So a lot of people already don't like Matt Reeves from our community. They believe he's the reason that Ben Affleck is no longer the Batman. There's some truth to this, but I understand Matt's point of view in this. But we're going to read this whole interview, and then we're going to unpack it, and we're going to talk about it. Matt Reeves talks to Dark Knight and Batman Returns. By the way, Batman Returns is one of my favourite films and favourite Batman films, so don't at me. Taking on the Batman is no mean feat, with 80 years of history, multiple smash movies adapted from his adventures, and a current Hollywood landscape that is built on the billions of dollars comic book movies bring in every year. The pressure is on, but when I spoke to Matt Reeves about his new sci-fi series, Tales from the Loop, the director's enthusiasm for Batman, his upcoming take on the Dark Knight, and some of the comic book icon's cinematic turns shone through. Like many of us, Reeves has a lot of thoughts about the history of Batman movies. He was keen to make sure that his film lives up to the impressive legacy of what came before. I thought, well, there's been some terrific Batman movies, and I don't want to be part of a long line of Batman movies where this is just another one. I feel like they've been really distinctive. The best ones have been incredible. What Nolan did was incredible. What Tim Burton did was really singular. I agree. I love both visions. You don't have to like one vision or the other. You can like both. You can even like Snyder's vision, right? Clearly a man of taste, Reeves is a huge fan of Tim Burton's Goth Christmas sequel to his box office smash Batman movie. I love Batman Returns, so do I. Michelle Pfeiffer was incredible. Yes, she was. My favourite live action Catwoman to date, and hopefully we can get a similar or a better turn in the Batman. I love it. I love it so much. It's so incredible, and she's so incredible in it. I just think it's such a beautiful movie, agreed. I love the Penguin stuff. When he's going down the sewers as the baby, it's just like, wow. This is the beautiful thing about Tim Burton at his best in that way. that he's got that connection into the fantastical that feels very, very personal. Couldn't agree more. Tim is a pioneer. I love him. Reeves also shared his thoughts on Nolan's beloved second entry into his lauded trilogy. Now, we've read this before, but we're going to go through the whole interview, unpack it, because I really do want to talk about this, including one of the most interesting takes on the Joker that we've heard in a while. The Dark Knight is so incredible, and I think that Heath Ledger's performance and their conception of the Joker in that movie is indelible. And the battle that he engaged with, with Batman, Bruce, is incredible. He continued, but the thing you take away from it more than anything is the conception. Specifically, I think of the Joker. That movie is so much about how it's a horrifying thing to stare into the abyss. That idea of that level of nihilism, the whole idea that there was nothing you could do because in the destruction of him, you were fulfilling his aims. It was just a terrifying notion that speaks to an aspect of human nature, and that was really profound. Couldn't agree more. His love for these previous iterations of the Dark Knight led to Reeves finding the shape for his own vision for the Batman. I just felt like, well, what I'd love to do is get to a vision of this Batman character where he's not yet fully formed, where there's something to do in this context with who that guy would be in this world today, and to ground him in all of these broken ways, because at the end of the day, this guy is doing all of this to deal with trauma in his past. Very, very true. Very, very true. And that's the full thing. I think there was more, but I think we read most of it yesterday. Anyway, right, so let's talk about what Matt Reeves is thinking of doing, because he's not telling us he likes these versions for no reason. Batman Returns is a divisive movie. Not everyone likes Batman Returns. I think Batman Returns is amazing. Amazing. It's brilliant. A lot of people accused it of being overcrowded. I don't think it was. I think we had Max Schreck, brilliant, before we heard of the real Schreck, right? But yeah, we had Max Schreck, we had Pfeiffer's Catwoman, which was sensational. We had DeVito as the Penguin, amazing. Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne Batman was brilliant. One of my favourite actors as Batman, no question about it. It's a brilliant movie. Now, I love The Dark Knight, but actually my favourite out of that trilogy is Batman Begins. It's a great origin. Now, how can Matt Reeves make this kind of origin type of Batman movie that doesn't kind of copy what Nolan did with Batman Begins? It's a very, very interesting challenge for him, because we've already seen that the Batmobile isn't really the Batmobile yet, that his costume isn't really his fully fledged costume yet. This is a Bruce Wayne that's trying things. That's what he's doing. Now, in Batman Begins, he pretty much he designs his Batsuit quickly, he puts it on, and that's the Batman costume he has for all three movies. We know the Tumbler is their version of the Batmobile. It doesn't evolve, it stays like that, right? And he has other gizmos that pretty much stay the same throughout the three movies. But this is a Batman trilogy, and this is going to be at least a trilogy, could be more, where things will evolve. We will eventually see the iconic comic book Batmobile. We will ultimately see his fully fledged costume, ultimately. But this stuff is going to take time. It's not going to happen straight away. So this is an evolving trilogy for Matt Reeves. And I think that's absolutely fantastic that he's saying that Batman does what he does because of his scars, because of what happened to him as a small boy. And I think that's absolutely fantastic. So David F. Sandberg has been answering some fan questions. I've already seen a couple on here. I noticed them yesterday and I wanted us to discuss them. So Bharat Sahal asked this: why none of the sins were female? What? Anyway, let's see what David had to say. My thinking was that they wouldn't be gendered. We tried recording both male and female performance and mesh it together, but it became very difficult to understand. Just because there aren't boobies flopping around doesn't mean they're all male, though. Brilliant answer. Pointless to get triggered by that kind of thing, though, isn't it? Right, here's a question from Venomic K. Why was Sin so impersonal and completely uninteresting in the film? In the comics, every Sin is a person and lives up to its name. And in the film, they are just pieces of shit. Oh, charming. Let's see what David had to say to that. Which comics though, question mark? That's something I like about Shazam. There's been such different versions. It didn't feel like we had to do one particular thing. This was just yet another take. Don't disagree about not a lot of their personalities in the film. But part of that was runtime. Yeah, but I think it wouldn't really take much extra runtime, or you could have cut out something else, David, to do that kind of thing with their personalities, because that's an interesting concept, and I didn't know that about the comics. So, yeah, I think more was done in this film for the family thing, for the comedy, for the horror. But yeah, I think the fans right there. Maybe they should have focused a little bit on that. But it's not a deal breaker for me. Still a great movie. Originally, I had the idea that the sins in Shazam would be inverted and always emanating smoke. Figured that would be a unique look and would lean into the CGI rather than chasing reality. Interesting. And this is actually a thread. I did a quick test in Blender where I baked the lightning, inverted the resulting texture map and set it as an emission shader. Now all dark areas became glowing instead. Ultimately, because of the time we had to play, it's safe, just make them regular old demons instead. Yeah, do you know what? What concerns me, he keeps on talking about time and run times. Why was that a thing? Why wasn't the film longer? This is shades of the theatrical cut of Justice League where they only had 2 hours in the end. What's going on here? I should make it clear that the demon images are not official concept art. They're just images I found on Google and inverted and added smoke to the arms to test out the idea for myself. I found the source of one of the images. Very, very interesting. It's great that he's talking to the fans. Very good. Let's see what else he's been doing. When I make storyboards just for myself to keep track, they look more like this. I mean, he is a very, very creative guy. He's a great guy. When I was figuring out how the scenes in Shazam would work, 2 of these became scenes in the film. I love seeing storyboards and stuff like that. I don't know about you guys. So it's great to see him. You know, creatives have got a lot of time on their hands right now, and this is really, really good stuff. Didn't have time to shoot the robbers pulling up, but it wasn't really necessary. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, brilliant, and that's why I could find out, and I was very, very excited about that. Now I'm going to go to, I have actually screenshot a couple of paragraphs where they're talking about Wonder Woman 1984. So I'm going to go and find it now. So we're going to have a little chat about this because I do find it very, very interesting. So where are we? Nothing's leaked. Everything you get from Warner Brothers is sort of encrypted, like your computer will explode if you open this. Part of the reason for the top level security clearance on the project is that the Wonder Woman effect has been enormous, especially for Jenkins and Gadot. It completely changed my life, says Gadot. Somehow it came out of a point in time where people were really craving it. It made an impact, and Patty and I were very lucky. I would say that the movie was received the way it was, and that it came out in the era it did. And I think we just, without even knowing, consciously ticked a lot of the right. But first Wonder Woman in 1984, which I see about a half an hour of, under supervision at the Warner Brothers lot. Other than to tell you that it is an all-encompassing and visually stunning and quite loud experience, I will admit I have absolutely no idea what it's about, except to say that it's set in 1984, the year before Gadot was born, and an exhilarating new wave soundtrack, and features an allegiance guy who may remind you of Donald Trump in his much more harmless 80s salad days. Neither Jenkins nor Gadot, nor Gadget would reveal a single plot point. No one really knows that much about the movie, says Wig, which is crazy in this day and age. It's amazing that nothing's leaked. So that's interesting. Now, as you already know, months and months ago, we talked about me seeing a test screening of this movie. Yes, test screenings have been put out there. People have seen versions of this movie. I can now confirm to you the versions we saw, many of us saw, because I know other people who saw test screenings, and not the final cut. And I made a video about that quite a few months ago, so look on my playlist for that. But yeah, so what I saw isn't the final cut. There's obviously going to be elements of sequences I saw. It was a 90-minute of test footage, right? It was a cohesive film, but it was only 90 minutes long. And I'll tell you something else. There was no music. So I know that we've got everyone's talking about the score. We've got what's his name? Who did Man of Steel and BVS? He's back to do the score, so it's going to be amazing. I don't even have to listen to it. Donald Trump back in his salad days. Now, obviously, they're talking about the villain of this movie. Donald Trump. Did they have to mention Donald Trump? For me, right, I don't see the point. Why mention Donald Trump in any form in his harmless salad days? Does it matter? For me, it doesn't make any sense. But anyway, they're talking about Pedro Pascal's character, obviously. From what I saw in the test screening, he's neither Donald Trump in his salad days or in these days. He is the comic book character that we've all read. It's very interesting. You're going to love the movie. But from what I'm hearing now, the timeline will be changed because of Diana's actions in this movie. Now, there's a lot of people triggered about this. There's a lot of people attacking me because they don't want to believe what I'm saying. But they are the facts. That's what's going to happen. But bring on Wonder Woman 1984 later this year. And hopefully everyone receives it better than they did Birds of Prey, which should have, Birds of Prey and Wonder Woman 84 should have been a great celebration of female-led DCEU. And unfortunately, it didn't happen with Birds of Prey. Hugely disappointing when you've got a character like Harley and these brilliant Birds of Prey characters, and you just don't do them justice because you're too busy being alt-left, ultra-political, and hateful towards men. But that's what happened in that movie, and there's nothing we can do about it. Hopefully Warner Brothers and Walter Hamada have learned his and their lessons not to trust lunatics in future. But please comment down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DCEU Dailies. See you again soon.